This is Quinten Johnson. You're tuned in to Leaders in Next podcast.
Today, we are excited to have Quinten join us on the podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Pure Green. Pure Green is one of the fastest growing smoothie, acai bowl, and cold pressed juice franchises in the U.S. on a mission to build healthier communities around the globe. Pure Green offers handcrafted and made-to-order superfood smoothies, acai bowls, and cold-pressed juice with unparalleled taste and the highest standards for nutrition. You can learn more by visiting their website, puregreenfranchise.com. Again, that's puregreenfranchise.com. Q was part of the 2019 recruiting class. Yes, you heard that right. 2019 recruiting class. He attended St. John's College High School in Washington, D.C., where he helped the team to regular season championships as a junior and a senior. His outstanding play led to a 4-star rating on Rivals and ESPN, and he was invited to play in the 2019 Under Armour All-American game. He's a 4-year letterman at U of M and has a knack for making big plays at big moments. Q, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's awesome. By the way, anybody Googling Quinten Johnson, it's very frustrating because even if you spell the name correctly, you will get a lot of times a different football player that played at TCU, also Quinten Johnson, but his last name spelled differently. We are today talking with the Quinten Johnson that's won a national championship, not that other guy. So Q, I'm just curious, obviously we've seen you play a lot of football, but we're always curious, how'd you get started in football? How old were you? When did it start?
Yeah, so I started super young. I started at 4 years old, playing flag with the 6-year-olds. I think my dad lied and said I was 6. And then I started playing tackle at 7 with the 10-year-olds, playing QB. And he probably lied again and said I was 10. Always playing up with the bigger dogs, a little better talent.
So, allegedly you're 24 now. You're not really 28, right?
Nah, I'm 24. I'm 24.
Right. How long did you play quarterback?
I played quarterback on and off until high school. More Wildcat packages as I got older. We had QBs, Kevin Doyle, who had actually committed to Michigan at one point. He played our primary QB. He ended up going to Arizona. Kasim Hill, who went to Maryland. But yeah, no, I played all the way through high school.
That's awesome.
I wanted to play at Michigan, but that wasn't going to happen.
You want to play
a quarterback battle this spring? You thrown your name in yet?
I mean, I flirted around a couple of times. I don't think I got much traction with Kurt and the boys, so I actually joined their room a couple of times. I don't think they want me. We
have a lot of guys that, of course, when you're great athletes, a lot of folks played multiple positions growing up, and so we have a lot of quarterbacks. Max Bredesen was a quarterback in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've had guys come in and tell they can throw. So I can only imagine the QB room. It seems very crowded. Apparently,
yeah.
You got Greg Crippen.
Crippen said, "Yeah,
no, I think it's a compliment to Coach Harbaugh's recruiting style. At the end of the day, we recruit athletes from all over the world: Germany, France. No matter what position you play or what sport you play, necessarily, if you're an athlete, you can play football. Coach Harbaugh and the crew's going to find you."
Now, your recruiting report, I was reading, and probably drives you guys nuts when you read certain recruiting reports because you wonder, like, who the heck are these guys to kind of, look at me? But I was reading it, and there's one guy, he was very complimentary, fast, can run in a straight line, can catch the ball because you played receiver, physical. They said, must improve the back pedal in transitions and man-to-man coverage, has to improve man-to-man technique, but is strong, fast, and likes contact. Now, this is obviously when you're in high school. Do you think when you hear that, did they get it right at the time?
I think they got it right at the time. Definitely some of the things I was dealing with during the time, especially during the All-American game. Looking back at it, I probably shouldn't even have played in because I was dealing with a couple of injuries. I definitely agree with what they're saying for the time being.
You left out the good part. He did say muscular frame can add good weight. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I came in. I was pretty swollen in high school. I remember there was one picture and I was getting recruited from the All American game, and I was all like yoked up. I looked jacked. It's funny. I don't even think I'm not as yoked up, but now as I was in high school.
Well, and when you're taking those pictures, I always love those pictures where the guys got the flex going. You know, they got the arms pumped up and they're straining real hard, like as if it's a natural look. But you look, hey, you got to look tough. Your offer list, obviously you were super successful in high school. Great offer list, right? U of M, Bama, Penn State, North Carolina. Now it looks like you took unofficial visits to Bama, Penn State, North Carolina. What was it about some of those schools? We'll get to Michigan, but what was some about those programs that caught your eye?
Well, that's the one thing they don't tell you about all the unofficial visits, all the offers on some of those sites. But Bama is definitely one of my favorite unofficials. Just being recruited by Coach Locks, who's now at Maryland,
right.
And Coach Gaddis, we all know
where
Coach Gaddis is now. Just the story that we actually, funny story, we went up there. It was like 6 or 7 of us from my school, and our rival high school was IMG Academy in Florida. And they had about 7 to 8 of those guys up there. So it was cool to get like a little prequel to what was to come later on, and really start building those relationships with guys from high school that you see a lot of those guys actually now in the pros. Maryland, I don't know if you mentioned Maryland. I don't think you mentioned Penn State. Penn State was actually a school that I liked a lot. I was leaning on towards going to Penn State for a while, but it was a school, beautiful scenery, not too far from home, and they do a great job recruiting the DMV. North Carolina was another school, just from being the school that offered me first. I always want to show like some loyalty for them for that, and I appreciate everything they've done for my football career from there.
When did you get your first offer? How old were you?
I got my first offer kind of late. I think I just turned 15. Just turned 15.
It sounds like, I guess to you guys, but I mean, to most people, they're sitting there thinking that they have their own kids at 15 are going, man, they got an offer to go.
There's still just so much going on at that point. You're physically growing, you're mentally maturing. There's just so many unknowns that it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I don't even know what the recruiting world looks like for high school nowadays with the addition of NIL.
Was your offer was that a committable offer at age 15, or did it have some conditions on it that you had to meet?
I hope it was committable. I hope it was committable. That's what they don't tell you in high school. Well, yeah, we gave you that offer, but we don't know yet. I don't know. It might be more transparent nowadays, but back then, every offer was just an offer. I remember Coach Harbaugh came to my school and offered at least 25 guys. Just they putting guys in front of him. You get an offer. You get an offer. You get an offer. You get an offer. I was like, okay, guess we all going to Michigan.
The whole class, all 25 members of the class are from your schools. Now, how many official visits did you take?
I only took one.
Now, I'm always curious. I mean, because these are like paid vacations, and you could get to go to really good games.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just take the other 4 just for the hell of it?
Looking back at it, it was definitely a poor decision on my part. So I took my official during the summer. I just left the Nike opening, which is I don't even know if they still do the Nike opening, but it was always a Nike competition that was ran in the summertime. And before that, I was at another event, and then another event, and then it was kind of time where I got to the summer and I had that one free weekend. It was my official to Michigan. And when I got here, Coach Pep and the staff really did a great job making me feel like I was at home. It made me feel like I didn't really need to go explore anywhere else because I've already found that one school that I was looking for, and I wanted kind of to stay loyal after I committed to Michigan. And we also played on Saturdays, so that kind of cut into it. But realistically, I've always kind of been in the mindset of if you're committed to a place, there's no need to go out and take other officials if you already gave the school your commitment.
Who hosted you on your official visit?
Rashawn Gary, Brad Hawkins. Shout out B-Hawk. It's actually his birthday today. Shout out my dog B-Hawk.
Brought out some big guns for you.
Yes, sir. And he's back in soon. So excited to see his coaching career take off.
Now, what was it about Michigan that, it grabbed your, it said, hey, this is a place I'm going to commit to? Was it depth chart? Was it the history of the program, academics? I'm just curious. What was it for you?
For me, it was definitely opportunity, both on and off the field. I mean, Michigan, in my opinion, is the one school that you can have a high degree of athletics and a high degree of academics at the same time. I know we had our struggles at first, but at the end of the day, Michigan, in my opinion, is still that one rare school. And I guess you could put Stanford in that when it comes to other sports, but not necessarily football at this point. Michigan is that one school where you're getting the top notch, both academically and athletically.
Yeah. Now you, as part of that 2019 class was a monster class, 26 guys originally. By the way, I think you're the lone survivor at this point of the 26 class at Michigan.
Keyshawn Harris, me and Keyshawn.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and there's a ton of guys that are pros, future pros. I mean, you, Mikey, DJ Turner, Dax Hill, Hinton, David Ajabo, Mike Morris, Mozzie Smith. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, what was it like? What was it like being part of that class?
Oh, I mean, it was great. The guy we still in contact with most of those guys to this day, and just being able to have a shared experience. A lot of those guys came from highly touted high school programs, and just the ability to be remembered as the class that kind of brought Michigan back into the forefront of college football is something that we always go hold our head up high for. Look forward to seeing those guys come back to a lot of games.
Now I don't know if you follow much recruiting, now, but we've got, the DMV has been a nice, talent pool for Michigan, really. And we've got a safety. Looks like maybe trying to step into your shoes next year. That did you any chance you? So this is Kanoa Winston, top 10. I mean, there's all these different recruiting things, that have different opinions. But let's simplify it and say he's one of the top 5 to 10, top 10 safeties in coming out of high school from Maryland. You know anything about his game?
Yeah, for sure. I got to spend a lot of time with Noah and his family, and you could tell that he mentally and his mindset, he had what it takes to be one of the greats here at Michigan. And I'm really excited to see what his football career is going to turn out to be. He actually went to my rival high school, which is cool because we always got that kind of camaraderie for that. We also got some St. John's kids. That's my high school, St. John's, that we're recruiting as well. So hopefully we can get a lot of the DMV guys. I know, at least on the defense side of the ball, we kind of made the DMV an emphasis, just hitting on some of the recruiting meetings we do have at school. We've kind of made that an emphasis on where we want to really build those strong relationships at. So hopefully Kanoa could be that next bridge for the next generation of athletes to come up and emulate him.
You said earlier that you saw something about him, something in his mentality that made you think he's ready for the next level. Just curious, what was it that you noticed in him that made you feel like he had that it factor?
Yeah, I think he had great clarity, and he's really true to himself. I think, and I don't want to speak for him, but it seems like from the interactions I've had with him that he's one-track minded and is being the best football player he could be. He's not worried about a lot of the outside things that a lot of younger guys get caught up in. And he has all the tools athletically to go out and do that. So if he brings both those together, I mean, the world's his oyster.
If you go back to, you mentioned in recruiting, you played in the high school All-American game, and I'm curious, what's that game like? We've gotten accustomed to the Pro Bowl in the NFL, kind of turn into flag, and there really is no equivalent in college. I'm curious about the high school All-American game. What is the intensity level? Is it really high? Like guys are trying to add another star?
Yeah.
Or is it the opposite? Do the guys already have the offers they want? Just curious, what are guys trying to get out of that?
Yeah. For us, the intensity was definitely high. My high school coach, actually, Donald Cox, shout out Coach Cox, him and Deion do run the DBs for the All-American games, and they make sure, and Deion's standard, they make sure that it's guys that are going there that want to be there and they want to compete. And I remember Coach Sanders used to say, like, if you don't want to be here, we'll send you on that flight home. If you don't want to compete, you don't want to get better, we'll send you on that flight home. And that's the cool thing about high school athletes is you're at the All-American game, but you still haven't arrived. So it's still a lot of hunger there. It's a lot of fuel to really motivate yourself and put yourself to be the best that week. And you see a lot of highly competitive guys that are really trying to get out the mud for the most part. So yeah, I think that's a great experience, and hopefully that high school athletes can have that experience for the next 100 years of football.
Now, you're a veteran now, but there was a day when you were putting on the pads for the first time at Michigan, and I'm just curious, when you think back to that, we ask everybody on the podcast, do you remember any kind of welcome to the Big Ten, welcome to Michigan moments in practice where, because everyone's fast, everyone's strong, everyone's big, and some of those guys have been in the program. Maybe you had to tackle somebody, you had to cover somebody. Anything you remember, like you go, oh, okay, this is different.
Yeah, it's not really a lot of moments I remember that would necessarily be like a welcome to Michigan moment. Just because the lack of practice I did have my first couple of years, but probably when I did finally start practicing, because I did take a while to start actually practicing just due to injuries and stuff, just seeing the intensity and the duration of practice, just being out there with Coach Harbaugh for 4 hours, especially during the spring, every day, it's like, it's a job. And you got to treat it like a job to really be successful at this sport. And I guess my welcome to Michigan moment wasn't necessarily on the field, but just over time, seeing how guys prepare and having that realization that if you want to go to the next level, you got to start preparing like a pro in college, even when you're not a pro. And now with NIL, I guess we're all semi-pros. So
yeah. Now you mentioned these long practices, and we're recording this. This is now end of July. You guys are about to enter into fall practice, and it sounds like in the past. It's almost like an NFL practice. You guys go off to a hotel. You're all together. I mean, walk us through at a high level. Like, what do the next few weeks look like for you guys?
So the next 2 weeks looks slightly different for the incoming freshmen, and the guys that have been there. For the incoming freshmen, they are also in the bridge program, so they have to take 2 or 3 classes as well. So our schedule is probably broken up into 15-minute intervals. If you put them down from top to bottom, theirs is broken up into 5-minute intervals, where they have to go from probably 6:30 practices in the morning to right after practice, they're getting driven to class, and then right after class, they're getting drove right back to practice to go to meetings and go to study hall, and that will continue until 7:30 to 9 at night, sometimes even 10 to 11. And then they have to take a test at the end of practice. So that first introduction to the camp is always the hardest, and then it gets easy from there. For us, it's going to probably be different a little bit with Coach Moore, but I mean, it's still going to be a hard-nosed style of camp. Wake up probably 7 to 8, probably 8 to 9. 8 to 9 for the most part.
Okay.
One practice during the day, and then the rest of the time is allocated towards meetings and walkthroughs and things of that nature, some workouts. But yeah, it's all day, every day. You're in a hotel, everybody's together, it's tight quarters, there's no outsiders. It's everybody doing one thing, you're doing the same thing every day. And if you get the days, you just ride it out with your teammates.
Well, like you said, it sounds like a job. So, after it, this will be a good experience for once everyone's NFL career is over and they go to work somewhere or work for themselves. That schedule is kind of like work, so you'll be well prepared.
Yeah, I was going to say, Q, when you make the NFL next year, you're going to say, wow, this all seems pretty familiar.
Oh, yeah, I think, every person that came from Michigan have transitioned into the NFL has definitely said the intensity is much higher under Coach Harbaugh. And I'm pretty sure it's going to continue under Coach Moore, but yeah, it's not even close.
I don't know if you saw this, Dad or Q. Speaking of practice and Coach Harbaugh, did you see him pulling the viral clip from yesterday?
Yep, sled drags. Shout out Coach Herb. Sled drags still a staple in what we do once a week.
He had a harness around his waist, and he was like backpedaling with a huge defensive lineman.
You backpedal, yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So every Tuesday to finish our workout, we take that sled. You take a partner, and we drag it. We drag it from one part of the grass in the indoor all the way to the opposite part of the grass and back. So I remember one week we had a couple of the guys drag the sled from the back of the end zone all the way back in the indoor, all the way up the stairs, and they brought it to Coach Moore's office, and then the guys brought it to their position coach office, kind of be like my guy Jay Hugh, just to be like ready to go. That was kind of a cool experience.
Now, how does the guy you drag get picked? Because it's a big difference if you have to drag KG versus Adam Samad.
Oh yeah, I'm not dragging KG. Makari Page. You grab a guy that's similar to size of you,
okay,
and pretty much you do that for the whole summer. So me and Makari have been pretty much working out side by side the whole summer. So
see, that's fair. It should be equal. Be equal. Totally fair.
Yeah. We also put some weights on it too. So put like a 45-pound weight. You put like two 45-pound weights. I think Alex Orgy and Ernest Hausman go together, and they'll have the sled, and then they'll have a 45 plate on one side. Then they'll be holding the other 45 plates to add 90 pounds to it. It's a lot.
Now, you know, if we know fans know you as playing in the defensive back, but you get a ton of snaps on special teams. I mean, how'd that come about? Like early on, did you just say, "Hey, I want to contribute," you know, and I put me out there, coach? Or
yeah, I mean, it was Coach Jay. Early on, he told me that, you know what, if you really lock in and harness special teams, you can really make a good career out of yourself, especially on the next level. It's special teams something I take a lot of pride in. It's really important to the game, and it's a great opportunity to get on the field, especially for a lot of younger guys.
Now, well, you mentioned a lot of younger guys; they do get that opportunity. Are you gonna continue to play special teams, or do you think they're going to be
for sure? Okay. For sure. As much as I can, as much as my legs will take, but I'm gonna play. I'm gonna get other guys opportunities to get their feet wet as well in games when it's not needed. But when the time comes and games on the line, definitely gonna be in there.
Q, can I shout out? We're going through two. You had two of the biggest plays in the last year with Michigan, but I also remember a special teams play. I think you were rocking the old number. This was 2021 at Penn State. Didn't they run like a fake field goal?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think they got the first down, but you had a heads-up play. You stopped them. It would have been a walk-in touchdown. Yeah. We ended up holding them. Then I think they tried to fake the field goal and didn't get it. So you ended up saving 7 points on a game that was decided by 3 or 4.
Yeah, that was a nail-biter. Shout out my dog, Curtis Jacobs, with the Chiefs now. He actually caught that. And it's funny because we called a timeout before that play happened because Coach Jay told us it was going to be a fake. And, yeah, didn't execute. But, but yeah.
It was close.
He had scored, but realistically, it should have been a pick. I should have turned back and saw the ball being scored. It's funny now that his time went by. Initially, I heard the crowd start screaming. So I'm thinking we blocked the punt. So I turned my head to look who blocked the punt and see what everybody's screaming about. I look over, I see the ball just going right over my head. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
But again, you were heads up because you were right there and there was nothing in front of them but grass. And I'm pretty sure they tried to fake the field goal on that drive.
Yeah, they did. They did a flea flick and they dropped it. And I think Vince Gray tackled him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you mentioned Jay Harbaugh. Obviously, he was around the program a long time. I think a lot of people just didn't get to know him as much. I mean, he seemed different than Jim in the sense of, I guess we didn't get to see his personality as much, but he ended up coaching every position, it felt like, and also felt like everything he coached turned to gold. Yeah. Special teams were great. Safeties were great when he coached them. Just wondered if you wanted to shout out Coach Jay Harbaugh, and how was he as a coach, and how similar or different was that to his dad?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can tell they both come from the same same mindset of outworking the opponent, just they get about that differently. Coach J definitely, you can ask anybody, one of, or if not the smartest guy in Shim. And the way that he attacks the game and approaches the game is kind of similar to Coach Mentor, where they are so good analytically and so good at addressing problems just because of their intelligence and their ability to problem solve. They really bring a different niche to the sport. And Coach J, I'll give you a story. Every Friday before the game, before we go to the hotel, we'll have a special teams meeting, and Coach J will always relate football to a history lesson or a battle or something in nature with wolves or something. And honestly, he could be a professor. Just the amount of knowledge that he knows and is able to communicate knowledge and is able to coach is truly special. I know he's going to go far away. I know he's going to be a head coach one day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's speaking of coaches, you've seen a ton of change in your time in Michigan. I think I counted. I think you're on your fourth defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's got to cause some concern. I mean, changes can be tough, even if they're great coach. And if you had a crystal ball back before you committed and you knew what was going to happen at Michigan before you committed, would you still have chosen Michigan?
Yeah, I wouldn't have cared, honestly. Change is tough, but at the end of the day, change is needed, especially when change, I wouldn't say it's needed, but there's nothing you can do about change, nothing that really needs to be said about kind of how you deal with change. You just got to deal with it. The good thing about, especially the last 3 years from McDonald to Mentor, it's the same scheme. So it's not necessarily that much change. And now we got the head honcho. So it's the same scheme and we're operating within the same system. It's just different flavors of that system, but it's still the same system. It's still the same family. Especially with Wink. Wink taught those two guys in Baltimore the system. So now we got the OG. So it's exciting to see how he kind of operates within his own thing.
Now, so how difficult was it to change from Brown to then the McDonald Mentor Wink kind of thing?
Oh, that was difficult. That was difficult because Coach Brown teaches such I don't want to say sophisticated. It's just a different brand of football. Where when they came in, it was definitely a learning curve to a certain extent. But even the tools we learned under Coach Brown, we were able to utilize in a lot of what we did there. So it was different. It could be challenging at times, but football's football at the end of the day.
Now speaking of change, the program's had recently some not so good years and some great years. I mean, you experienced the high of winning a national championship, but it wasn't that long ago. We were 2-4 in the COVID year, 2020, and people were calling for Harbaugh's, job. And, what was that like for you and the team?
Yeah. So, for me, because I was still injured for most of that year, I was more of a observer. I was still part of the team. I was still at practice. I was still grinding, but I was grinding on a personal level to get back to the field. But what I witnessed the first year, I was that 2019 year, then the 2020 year, compared to the year after that, was you seen the culture change to a players first mentality, where you got leaders like Josh Ross, Aiden Hutchinson, and Brad Hawkins, a lot more guys, not just them three. And then Coach Herb's voice kind of also took precedent a lot. The culture changed from I don't want to say it was a me first mentality, but the culture definitely changed to I'm not just here to get to the league. I'm here to put pride back into Michigan football and have pride in my teammates and have pride in my work and my style of work. I feel like the Harbaugh method is outworking every opponent. And for the first couple of years, at least when I got there in 2019, that first couple of years was needed for the grind to really take place and sharpen the mind and the body to be able to go about outworking every other team in college football. And you see that transition after that 2020 year. And you also got to remember there was a lot of guys in that 2020 class that unfortunately didn't get to play either due to COVID or injuries. So there's a lot of special guys that left that year, like Quiddy Pays, Ambry Thomas, that are balling in the league right now.
Nico Collins was on that team. I think
I didn't get to see Skinny Nico. Nico came that summer. I remember that. Nico probably lost 20 pounds, changed his diet. And Nico, shout out Nico, he was just up here working at Valor, which is the training site that just opened up on campus. He did a lot of off-season training there, so we got to see Nico and just the way he attacks. And if he would have played that season, he would have easily been the best receiver.
And a lot of young guys. I remember Makari Page played safety, I think, in the first game against Minnesota started. Roman Wilson was young, and he played a big role. And Aiden got hurt, third or fourth game. And so that was
Aiden and Quiddy.
Yeah, and Quiddy. It was one of those years where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It did. And for the team to bounce back, like
we about to play Ohio State. I looked up, we like 30 down. It was like my first week of practice, and it was like me and Jordan Moran starting at safety. I was like, this ain't gonna go well, but let's do it.
We didn't have enough guys to play, right?
I think Mike B was actually going to play QB. It was talks for Mike Barrett to play quarterback. We just roll the dice. Go roll the dice and go and roll, play ball.
Well, it was a heck of a turnaround, and clearly it sounds like we had heard before about some of the players that stepped up, and it's great to hear that because it really takes that.
It's cool because people know about Aiden, and obviously he's had a lot of success in the NFL, but the name that comes up almost every time we ask this is Josh Ross. People talk about the voice he had and how instrumental he was, and I know he's still with the Ravens, but also shout out the DMV pipeline for the coaches as well. The Baltimore pipeline has served us well.
Yeah, I mean the whole DMV is so small in general. Everybody pretty much knows each other, and I really think that the DMV and Michigan connection is going to be something to stay for a while now. You're going to see a lot more guys in the DMV. Even down the line, I don't want to say no names, but you see a lot more guys coming in.
Now, I'm just curious, we have seen that, and it seems like it's been a great pipeline. Why is that? Is it because
Coach Poggi? Coach Poggi is definitely a big name and a big reason for a lot of that. And shout out Coach Poggi. Coach Poggi is another reason you see that turnaround. Without Poggi, you don't have the Michigan you have today, in my opinion. What he meant to the team and what he was able to do for the culture, and just what he did for Coach Harbaugh as well. I know that was a shoulder that he could lean on a lot. Coach Poggi doesn't necessarily get the credit that he deserves sometimes, but he was also a big reason for the turnaround.
I remember seeing him speak at an event, Coach Poggi, and you're right. I mean, you could just tell that it's really good that we have a guy like that at the program at the time. So, hopefully that lingers. But it's been a great connection because it generated a lot of talent for us.
Oh, yeah.
Now, so as we said earlier at the top, and people know, and Dan mentioned a third big play, but you seem to be at the right place at the right time in some big games. We got the Ohio State pass breakup that you had against Ibuka, and I know you did a great job of profiling that play on Inside the Play on the Michigan _football YouTube page. Now, Dan, you were telling me earlier he had that player had some interesting comments at the media day.
Related to which team has more talent than the other, I think he brought it home with something balanced about that. You still have to win the game. Anyway, it was definitely a shot across the bow about, well, one team has talent, we have a lot of talent, and they don't have as much, essentially. And I'd like to file a formal disagreement with Emeka.
I don't know what his exact words was, or I don't want to misinterpret what he was saying when he said, because I know it's always that quote going around that, because, at the end of the day, Ohio State, They're like the Rams that won that Super Bowl the one year that just brought a bunch of players in the portal in. They don't always necessarily gel, and that's kind of been some of the feedback they've gotten their program the last couple of years, and we've always been that team that with that interpretation that we work really hard and we're just a hard worker and we outwork them and we outgrit them, but we're not necessarily as talented as them. So I guess he was trying to go on those lines. Even if he wasn't, it's like,
Dan, this is how a true veteran handles that question. See,
yeah, I mean it's cute. I mean, shout out what they got going and what
sure.
He's a hell of a player, but yeah, no one really cares, honestly. I mean,
well,
it is weird with teams like that. Like even teams that are really talented, like the team last year was 15-0, like never trailed in a game, outright won the national title from start to finish. Like obviously very talented.
Yeah, and
what else
that's
is
the
talent?
And they attack you. Yeah, they attack you week in and week out, try to pull little things to take your coach and all of that. And at the end of the day, I don't know how many guys we had. 18 guys drafted.
I think so. 17 or 18. There was.
So that's talent. That's clear talent. But yeah, shout out them boys. Hopefully they working hard this summer. They're gonna need to. Yeah, good luck till they get to be up. I guess we going down there this year.
That was a great hit, and again, it's been profiled before. So if people want to look at it, Q did a nice job detailing that play from memory, just kind of what the coverage was, and it was a huge hit to break up a pass at a pretty important time in that game against Ohio State. The next one is more recent, and my screen here is the background, a nice shot of the Rose Bowl stadium. But so we're trailing 17-13, fourth quarter. They got the ball. They're driving. First down, right around the 50-yard line, I think it was. Milroe scrambles. He breaks a tackle. Now he's kind of one-on-one against you. Can you walk? I mean, you seem to have a good memory because you did the inside the play on the Ohio State breakup pretty good. Walk us through what was happening on that play for you.
Yeah, so that's another play that I got to shout out Coach Jay for instilling turnovers, and the emphasis for us was forced fumbles actually, because the previous year we probably last in the country in forced fumbles. So we drilled it. We worked forced fumbles, and the main takeaway from what he would tell us every single day was hard contacts on the ball lead to forced fumbles. So, and we would replicate that in practice. Just getting your hands on the ball, just getting your body across the ball, and just creating that hard contact to the not only the ball carrier, but to where the ball is, just to create those forced fumbles. But yeah, so the play, we're using a fire zone coverage, which is a 5-man pressure, and you're playing like a zone behind it. You're taking one of the zone defenders and you're pressuring them, so you don't have as many guys on the back end as you would typically. So you're playing in more space. That's why you kind of see me out there hovering over 2, because you always got to relate to 2 when you're the seam fat player in a fire zone. As I'm relating to 2, I know he's a runner. Gets the RPO, takes my 3-player out of the gap responsibility, so I know that I'm going to have to show up in the run if it does break contain. And then from there on, it was just what Coach Jay kind of instilled us from every day in practice. It's just hard contact to the ball player, make a good tackle. And shout out Josh Wallace. The ball rolled to the sideline. He got able to scoop it up. And yeah, it was cool. In my opinion, it was a moment where you could hear the whole stadium just erupt. And that was definitely one of the coolest. Pasadena was one of the coolest scenes in college football, just in general. But during that play was definitely one of the coolest moments in my football career.
We've been in that stadium before for other games, and the national championship in '97, Dan and I, and we weren't at this game, but I'm pretty sure that there were neighborhoods where people could hear the screaming, all across the country of Michigan fans when you made that play. I'm just curious, he didn't switch the ball to the boundary side when he was running. When you looked at him and he was carrying the ball like towards you, did your eyes light up, or did you sit there and say, "Okay, I'm going to punch this out," or was it just?
Nah, I mean the way to go about it, in my opinion, is you want every tackle to kind of be that same like jarring tackle where the ball could come out if you were making hard enough contact. So once I kind of located the ball, I've always tried to push my head through it and then wrap through just to be able to make sure that if he is not carrying that ball like a seatbelt, it is some wiggle room in there, that ball can come out. And that's kind of what that roll tackle kind of helped as well.
Back to the Ibuka play. You closed so fast. You closed so hard. You closed so legally. Those are three really hard things to do at the same time. We were talking to Tyler Morris, actually, about his touchdown in the Rose Bowl, about how he felt, and he said, look, I kind of blacked out when it happened, because we were saying, hey, what did it feel like when you were in the end zone? When you made that your hit, it was so loud in the big house.
Yeah.
What do you remember from the play when you got up?
Once I got up, it was loud, like you said, and I was just, when you're playing and you're on the turf, and especially a game like that with all the energy in it, you just get an adrenaline rush. And I was so high off adrenaline. It was literally like I was taking a drug or something, because especially with the crowd noise, it's just something that you can't really compare it to, because your body is functioning so fast and it's moving so quickly. Everything's moving so quickly. But then you also got to snap back to reality. You got to do the next play. So we got up, celebrated, turned up for the next play. At the end of the day, it was still a tight game. It was still laser focused. Everything got to be locked in. And you can go celebrate extensively after the game.
Well, obviously, big contributor to the program, had some very good success, and you ultimately decided in February to declare for the draft. For those of us that don't know what that process is, walk us through that, what you had to do that, and I know ultimately you decided, we can talk about, then you said, hey, I'd rather come back to Michigan. But what was the first part of the process, declaring for the draft, like?
Yeah, so once you're a senior, you don't really have to declare. Your name is automatically placed in contention for the NFL draft.
Okay.
As an underclassman, that's when you have to actually declare.
Right.
So what I did was kind of create just a public service announcement, not a public service, just a public announcement of me declaring for the draft. But basically, and it was kind of different for me just due to my injury. Unfortunately, I did tear my hamstring the Wednesday practice before the Washington game. So that's why I didn't play in the national championship. But for me, that month of January was the initial stages of rehab, and then going to get a second opinion, and just making sure that I was conscious and making the proper decision, and going around and talking to everybody I could that could help me on my journey, just to make sure that I was doing the right thing. And then from there, my timetable was kind of pushed back a little bit due to the injury. It was kind of the next month and a half was filling out. What would I be able to do in the next couple of months? Would I be able to do the combine? Would I be ready for pro day? How the injury going to feel? Would I be able to do camp? And things of that nature. And it kind of changed kind of quickly after when I did decide. I did kind of decide to come early back to school after talking to Coach Moore. So
I loved you. I think you tweeted out or it was on Instagram, kind of, I'm back, kind of, big in all caps. So did you have did you not have an agent during that time? So you
no. So and that's the thing, I made sure not to, once you get an agent, there is no coming back.
Okay.
So that's another thing which could possibly change with NIL now, because the landscape of college football is definitely changing by the day. But once you actually do sign with an agent,
right,
you do take money from an agent, you cannot come back to college athletics. So I made sure I played both. So I kind of was my own agent for a couple weeks, couple months. It was kind of fun.
Did you pay yourself? Did you pay yourself a good? Did you pay yourself a good commission?
Oh. I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
See now, so yeah, I did pay myself a good commission.
So we're in the off season now, and then we'll talk about the upcoming season. But just curious, how'd you spend your off season?
I spent my off season honestly here, Michigan training. I wasn't in classes, but I was still around the university, and I was still day by day rehab my injury with a plethora of people. Really, Zach Higginbotham, who's new to the strength staff, doing a lot of return to play. Coach Phil, who's our head at AT and his staff as well. At Thrive, with Amir, another great gym here in Michigan, then at Valor, and especially doing PT with my guy Moose. So I had a large team, a lot of guys that I put a lot of hours in, and nothing really changed, honestly. I took the same program, the same time slots that I would spend at gym already, and I just applied that to what I'm doing now.
Okay. And you said you happy with the progress?
Yeah, I'm really happy with the progress. I'm in a great place. I'm looking forward to going into camp. Feel really strong.
Well, going into camp, we've got, I think 17 scholarships in the secondary, and it could be changing. We've had 4 guys transfer out, 4 guys transfer in. This is both cornerback and, but how would you describe, when you look at the guys in the safety room, how would you characterize that room?
I mean, it should be the best in the country. The blow with Rod was unfortunate, but at the end of the day, it's football and guys step up. And with or without Rod, or with or without any other player in that secondary, the standard is the same. It should be the number one secondary just because of the amount of talent and the amount of depth and the amount of guys in that room.
Right.
Definitely look forward to seeing where it's going to be. But if you don't have the DB room in general should be the number one DB room in the country. But at safeties, the amount of depth we got, and then Zeke Berry and J-Mac at nickel, even Cody Jones getting in the mix of things, you're going to see a lot of rotating guys. You're going to see a lot of fresh bodies, and you're going to see a lot of guys that know exactly what they're doing.
And from your perspective, because sometimes people think, these guys want to be on the field for every snap, and then you're talking about rotating in fresh legs. I mean, is it would you rather play all snaps, or is it like, this works for me that I get to rotate in?
I mean, that was something Coach Mender really emphasized a lot last year, is just the ability to go down the stretch and not have to play 60, 70 snaps a game. I mean, at most of the guys last year, we were only playing 30 snaps. So by the end of the year, even for playing the most games in college football, we was still fresh. At some point, it is like guys like just foaming at the mouth, pause, to make those plays, to get those opportunities to make those plays. But at the end of the day, plays are going to come to you. What's good for the B is good for the high. What's good for the high is good for the B. That's something Coach Harbaugh used to say all the time. And that remains true to this day.
It's unique you were able to do that. It was, you had yourself, Makari, Keon Sabb, Rod. You had guys that were interchangeably good and awesome at being in the system and selfless. And we were talking to, who were we just talking to? Maybe Fred Moore. We were talking about guys stepping up. And I remember against Ohio State, when Will went out, we were thinking, oh, wow. And it was hard to tell from the stands because he didn't limp off, and we were thinking, what's going to happen? And then Jaden McBurrows comes in, and he slides over into the corner slot.
J-Mac, yep. J-Mac comes in to play nickel. You put Mikey at corner, you put Josh at the other corner. You still got a starting 5 right there. I mean, nothing painful.
Right, and that was against the best receiver in college football. And to your point, it was about staying fresh and staying ready.
Yeah, and shout out Coach Klink. I mean, he had probably 10 guys, 11 guys that can go in and play. Maybe not in that moment at that time, but we were so deep. And it's not the preparation and how prepared Coach Klink did have us for those moments, that any little hiccup or any adjustment coming to Penn State and coming off the tarmac, and Coach Harbaugh can't coach, it's like he's still there just because the standard of how we prepare. I mean, that doesn't take away what we do throughout the week. That's the real point of the preparation.
Well, I bet you guys get asked this question by, when you're leaving practice and they're putting a microphone in front of your face. But okay, so you won the national championship last year. What are the challenges associated with running it back, and how do you not become complacent? You might get tired of that question, but what that's really hard to do. To do something twice in a row at that high level. What's your again, you're kind of a senior leader on this on the squad at this point. What do you think? What are the keys to running it back?
The keys is committing to the process. I mean, the standard doesn't change, and I'm really big on this. It doesn't matter if we're playing Fresno State or we're playing Texas or we're playing a high school somewhere in Maryland. You put somebody in front of you, the standard doesn't change. You still got to live up to your own standard. Your own performance should be catered to your standard. And the standard for Michigan football is to be the best in the country year in and year out. The last year's championship was great, but it's this year. And we don't necessarily look towards others or look what other teams are doing to or how they reloaded or how they rebuilt. None of that matters, because what we do is focus on what we can as a program. We control the controllables, and we go out and put all of our effort in building our own self to go out and beat everybody else.
Now, you obviously you know a lot of guys at other programs, I'm sure, and you guys might talk, occasionally. When they ask you, "Hey, man, tell me about Michigan," this culture thing. How do you describe it? Because every school probably says we work hard and we want to be nasty and all this good stuff. How would you describe it to people playing at your level at other schools?
I definitely say it's unique. It's unique in the sense that it's bigger than football. I think it loses more to being a Michigan man, and the culture truly resembles a grind. I truly believe we work harder than everybody else in college football, and that's something that a lot of the guys, including myself, had to get used to doing, because there was a lot of things that we kind of saw at first as unnecessary, but you get a little older and the respect that you have for outworking the opponent, some of that energy that Coach Harbaugh instilled in us, you see it overall from alumni perspective, and a lot of the guys that are attached to the program that's not necessarily players. You see that same grit and that same mentality to strive for the best version of themselves. So the culture is definitely unique in my opinion, and I always tell kids that are coming to high school, or younger kids or kids that want to transfer in, that if you really want to chase the best version of yourself, come to a place like Michigan, because that's what you're going to do. Interesting.
Now, part of being the best, piece of yourself at Michigan, at least, is academics, and you're a high academic guy. I mean, I think you're a 3-time academic All Big Ten. I hope I didn't insult you. You might have been a four-time. I don't know, but I mean, I saw 3-time. And you graduated. You got a degree in poli-sci, pursuing a master's in social work. As you think about once your NFL career is over, if I put 2 and 2 together, I see a guy from Maryland and I see a guy with poli-sci, and I'm thinking politics after football. Is any announcements you want to make? Are you running for office or anything that we should be aware of?
Sadly, you wouldn't be thinking correctly. Politics is just something that has been fascinating for me from a young age. Politics mixed with history, and just being able to understand the world before you is, in my opinion, is how you understand the future. And just it's important. It's important to care with politics. It's important to truly understand politics, especially if we live in a society with a lot of political theater. Did I cut off for a second?
Just a sec. We just lost it. You're back. Well, you must find it very interesting now, and we're not going to turn this into a political discourse, but it's interesting to a lot of people now.
My thing is always finding the source, finding the real policy, the word of fake news and a lot of misinformation, just being able to understand policy and what's actually being done and who's to actually take credit for what's being done, in my opinion. But like you said, politics, it's too much entertainment in politics nowadays, but yeah, it's something I just enjoyed. I've always enjoyed from a younger age.
Q, in like 11 and a half years when you can run for president, what teammate are you putting on your ticket for VP?
My VP, if I was to run for office, probably have to balance it out. Kind of go a little bit more right, but stay kind of central. Who is my VP? I don't want to put nobody political affiliation on the spot, but actually, besides all that, probably Jesse Madden.
Oh,
I
interesting.
might be Jesse Madden's VP, honestly. I mean, just the mentality of how he lives his life and how he goes about his day is definitely something that you can run a country off of.
Well, okay. So, who are you nominating for president from the team?
Who am I not? Jesse Madden.
Jesse Madden.
Yeah.
Jesse
Wow.
Madden.
Okay.
If I can go, give you a top three for president. Jesse Madden. Can I give you a top three?
Sure.
That's
yeah.
a lot. That's a large responsibility to appeal to the entire country. Jesse Madden. Who else would be a good one? Maybe Gentry. Maybe. Shout out Gentry. Gentry be a good one. I'm trying to think.
He is a good public speaker. We talked to him.
Yeah, great.
Very polished.
Yeah.
Great public speaker, great polished job. P.D. Simmons, his dad, I know his dad is the mayor of a town in Florida. P.D. might have some political chops.
Okay.
I don't know that we all young. We all still forming politically.
Yeah. Well, still got some football to play. So, but now, and we read that part of the reason you return, and you touched on it because the world of college athletics has changed, is the NIL deal that you had going, and the one I heard mentioned was with Randy Wise Automotive. How'd that come about? And I guess more importantly, are you really driving a Mercedes? Because I saw the Instagram picture of you with a Mercedes.
Yeah, no, shout out Randy Wise and Chris Wise and the team over there, and everybody that was involved in the process. So I reached out to one of the OGs just around the space, just basically saying, like, can you help me out, especially with the new NIL space? Mm-hmm. And he put me in contact with Chris Wise and his team over there, and they really looked out for me. And to this day, I'm really appreciative for everybody who's a part of that process has done for me.
That's great.
Chris Wise and his team.
That's great. Well, now you got nice wheels to drive around from campus. The parking lot in Schembechler can be a little tight. Don't get any door dings. Make sure the guy, like, I see big trucks in there. A lot of guys with trucks.
Yeah, a lot of guys. I hide from the trucks.
Yeah, you got.
It's like 80% black Suburbans.
Yeah, that's all the coaches. So you see the coaches pull up in their Suburbans, and then you see the Texas guys and all them pull up in their giant monster trucks.
And then you got the younger guys with the mopeds over against the brick wall there.
The young guys with the moped. Honestly, day by day, you're seeing a lot more Mercedes pulling up in Shim too. So
no doubt. If you could get any NIL deal, like your dream NIL deal, any brand, any company, what would it be?
Dream NIL deal. I guess I'm kind of boring when it comes to this kind of stuff. Dream NIL. Dream NIL. Honestly, probably
other than Champion Circle, other than them, and Randy Wise.
Yeah. Probably a luxury car dealership. Honestly, my first initial introduction to like luxury vehicles, just cars in general, was probably going about and trying to figure out what car I'm gonna drive in. I learned a lot about cars, and I went to the F1 event in Miami, and I kind of became a fan from there. So
nice.
Yeah, probably a luxury car dealership, or a car dealer, or maybe a nice watch brand, or like a nice clothing brand.
Okay.
I don't know.
Dan,
Black clothing brands. Shout out Black-owned clothing brands. I don't know.
Dan, start working on those. Call Rolex to see if they can get a watch.
Rolex, actually, I don't think Rolex sponsors athletes.
You could be,
until now.
You could be the first. Until now, you could be the guy, Q. So
I might be thinking of Cartier, but Yeah,
There we go.
Maybe.
Okay, so Q, rate my dream sports car, the Aston Martin DB9 Vanquish. How am I doing?
I saw a commercial for one of them, and I still don't know a lot about cars, but I saw a commercial about that Vanquish. It was pull at the heartstrings.
Yeah, it was one of the cars in one of the Bond movies, and I remember looking at it being like, oh, this is another decade before I can afford this. Honestly, may still be another decade.
Yeah.
One day.
So, speaking of NIL, I read that you opted out of the NCAA 25 game. Is that just a timing thing with the NFL?
No, I think it was. I actually I texted some of the guys at the team today about that. I didn't opt out. I think I filled my paperwork out too late because of my current draft status, stuff like that. So we're still figuring that out. But hopefully, you see me in the game.
Did they make like a fake guy to like fill your roster spot or something?
Yeah, it's like a 27 floating around there.
I hope he has a good rating.
We had Hunter Reynolds from a couple years ago wore 27, so I guess shout out Hunt. But hopefully, he's not getting cooked.
It'd be really funny if they just made a guy named like Quinten Johnson, just like all the same stats, changed absolutely nothing. It's probably what they should do, actually.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Well, so we're about to start a 2-minute drill, and as we say in every episode, it takes longer than 2 minutes. The good news is we've saved all our timeouts, and there'll be like TV timeouts and stuff like that. But one of the things is we really want to thank Pure Green for sponsoring this episode. Earlier today, they got several products. Earlier today, I tried the Dan's drinking the active charcoal. I had the turmeric. They have power shots, cold press shot, and they have several of these. I had the turmeric one for anti-inflammatory because when you get to be my age,
do you feel less inflamed, Dad?
Well, I'm working on joint replacement, so I'm kind of hoping it delays it at least. And then I'm having the melon hydrate, which is always hard to see in these backgrounds, but it's kept me hydrated during this episode here. And there's a reason why their products are trusted by the U.S. military, NBA, NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, and Quinten. So check out their website. Again, it's puregreenfranchise.com for more information. And Pure Green is offering our listeners a booster upgrade at any of the 6 Michigan locations, including Birmingham, downtown Rochester, Rochester Hills, Macomb, Shelby, and Sterling Heights. So just mention Leaders in Next podcast when you go into one of those 6 Michigan Pure Green locations, and you'll get your free booster upgrade. Dan, you said, what do you had what, Dan?
And I've got the active charcoal.
Okay.
And Dad, for those that like to live clean, eat clean, drink clean, this has only got 5 ingredients, not a big long list. It's water, agave, ginger, lemon, activated charcoal, and that's it. I'm not going to be laying out OSU players anytime soon or benching like Q, but I do.
The good news is you're not in the secondary against Ohio State, Dan, so that's fine.
That is true. Yeah. Very good news for us.
So, and Quinten, I know you're a big fan of Pure Green in terms of, for your recovery and keeping your performance at the highest level. What's your go-to routine with them?
Man, I use so many of their products. I try to, because I really made an emphasis here to focus on my body even more. Focus on my body, focus on my health. Try to keep my body as natural as possible. So in the morning, I'll go with the Pure Green. With the all greens, the pure greens, definitely start my day with that before a workout. The melon hydrate, kind of mandatory. That watermelon juice, natural watermelon juice for every workout.
That's the melon hydrate. That's what I had here.
How you feel? You feel amazing right now, don't you?
This is good. This is good stuff. I mean, they got.
Did you drink that whole thing?
I saved an ounce. An ounce.
Can you feel energized? It truly is. Before the games. Coconut hydrate, even if I want like a leisure drink, the coconut hydrate, and then the rock and beat at night. So
you got a whole protocol there. That's great. Well, again, folks,
you need it.
Yeah, if you can't visit one of their locations, because again, they have the cold pressed juices, but they also have bowls, both acai and oatmeal. They've got toasts, and so check out their menu, check out their website. Again, puregreenfranchise.com.
Hey, Dad, I'm proud of you for pronouncing acai right.
Yeah, I mean that's hard for old people. So okay, we had a couple random questions.
He's laughing.
I wasn't calling him old. I was calling me old. But
No, I'm just saying that.
Yeah. So Q, if you weren't a football player, what sport are you playing?
Baseball.
Were you a baseball player in high school?
I played a lot of sports in high school. I was best in baseball. I was probably better in baseball than I was football, honestly. Probably should have kept my grandfather is pissed I didn't keep playing baseball. But I probably playing baseball.
What position? What position? In
center field.
Oh, so do you and Zeke Berry sit down and watch each other's high school baseball highlights and talk to each other?
Zeke Berry actually kept playing baseball. Zeke could have really went to the MLB. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not. I kind of bowed out pretty early, too early to really tell. But from what I can remember as a kid, what I like to tell myself, baseball was definitely the one that got away. But
that's fair.
Zeke, I can't compare myself to Zeke.
Well, it's never too late. I don't know if you've seen this. There's this crazy stat that Russell Wilson was actually drafted higher than like Aaron Judge and Chris Bryant.
Yeah,
see that? Nuts. Never too late. And also, Q, we've been throwing around the idea of a home run derby if you're interested.
Okay.
We got some guys. We've had previous guests. Zeke. We've had previous guests that claim they're got a lot of basketball players, a lot of baseball players. We have one pickleball player. We're not going to out him. And we had one that is volleyball, and so it's no volleyball for you. Okay. Well, by the way,
you can guess who the pickleball player was. Or actually, maybe you want to guess who the volleyball player was.
Who do you think the volleyball player was?
And heads up, he's a member of the defensive backfield.
He's in the defensive backfield?
Yeah.
He lied to you. We got no volleyball player in the defensive backfield. He's in the defensive backfield. Corner or safety?
Well, that would make it too easy.
Let's say safety nickel, and he's a young guy.
Young guy? Safety nickel. Odin?
Nailed it.
Is it volleyball?
Yeah. He's. By the way, he must know that you're not a big volleyball fan because when we asked him to name the 4-man team for sand volleyball, you weren't on it. So you're lucky. Don't worry. He's not going to ask you to play volleyball.
Stop it. And then we play a lot of sand volleyball, and my 4 is definitely up there. Definitely up there.
So, other than you, who should the fans be on the lookout and for breakout player this season?
Jaden McBurrows, Zeke Berry. Both of them are going to have a great season, in my opinion. Sugar Hill Game's going to have a great season. There's so many guys, honestly.
You're naming a lot of guys in your position, in your group there. Who's
outside my group?
Yeah. Well, who's the hardest receiver for you to cover? Tight end or wide?
Now,
yeah.
I'd probably say Loveland and Timo.
Okay.
Loveland is, like Coach Moore said the other day, the next Travis Kelce. So excited to see what his career is going to turn out to be.
Yeah, I saw that social media post where Moore was talking about him.
But Marlon Klein is going to have
the Terminator. The Terminator.
Marlon Klein is going to have a major season.
We got to talk to him. All I know is that he's German, but by way of Georgia. That doesn't seem to be that doesn't seem the progression. I don't get it, but I got to talk to him about that.
He actually lives across the hall.
Oh,
tell him to pull up next time.
We may have to.
This was something we were talking about with Tyler Morris, and he mentioned that this year's receiver group has a chip on their shoulder. Given what people are saying about the drop-off, alleged drop-off in production from last year, you mentioned he was one of the guys that was toughest to cover. What do you see out of this, out of the receiver room for the 2024 team?
You got a well-balanced crew. You got a lot of young guys that are starting to come into their own. You see a lot of guys. I cut off for a bit.
You're good.
Yeah, just cut a bit. You back.
Yeah, like I was saying, you see a lot of balance in that group. see some older guys, see guys, especially I've been there for a while. A lot of guys that I'm starting to realize are the older guys now, starting to come to leadership roles. And you see a lot of guys with a chip on their shoulder that are ready to kind of step into that spotlight of being what it takes to be, having what it takes to be a number one receiver or a number two receiver or a big time receiver in college football.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we had 34 touchdowns walk out the door into the NFL between Cornelius and Roman, and so there's a lot up for grabs, and we've talked to some of the people we've mentioned here on the podcast, and we're excited to see the production. That I think it's going to be great. Okay, so fans always love these competitive questions in terms of who's the fastest or who's the strongest. So, okay, from the secondary room, who's winning the 40-yard dash?
I would say DJ Turner, but he's been gone for a minute now.
Yeah.
Last year, this year.
Yeah, just
this year. Honestly, I don't have an answer for you right now.
Okay. All right.
I really
What
don't.
about a fellow 2019 classmate, Keyshawn? What about Keyshawn Harris?
Oh, yeah, Keyshawn's up there. Keyshawn, Sugar. Maybe Cody Jones, maybe. No, I don't want to throw Cody's name like that. But maybe
Okay.
Coach. Keyshawn and Sugar is definitely up there. 40. I don't know. AWalk's not a corner no more. AWalk's going to touch 4.2s. AWalk's a free.
I mean, I'm not sure how far Ibuka was when you ran to catch him, but that was pretty fast.
That closing speed was
Oh, yeah,
fast.
don't get twisted now. I'm going to turn his.
Oh, I know. Well, I believe it.
Well,
I believe it. I had a good view of that from where we were sitting.
We asked.
Yeah, back to
Oh yeah, go ahead.
on the bench press, real quick. We asked Odin who could put up the most reps in the DB room, and he said you. Is he right?
Yeah, that's easy. That's easy.
I mean, do you on these competitive things? Do you ever look at some of these younger guys, like say, as like an older guy, say, you guys go mess with that. I've been there, done that. I need to prove myself to you.
No, I'm not old enough for that yet. I mean, we have KPIs that kind of track the metrics of about 30 different strength or speed categories that Coach Herb created that entails the best football player. So we compete with that all summer.
Sure. All right. Are you? So it's a collective thing. Are you in the top?
It's the whole team,
Okay.
top to bottom.
All right.
Yeah, me and Carr are probably the two highest graded DBs on the team. Top 6, top 5 of the team.
When it came to who put up the most weight, Odin didn't hesitate. By the way.
Yeah, no. And Carr got a lot stronger over this summer.
Okay.
It's still be there.
What's your top spot to eat in town?
Top spot to eat in town. I mean, Zingerman's. They don't have a monopoly over the town. I'm there a lot. Depends what you want. Zingerman's. If I know I'm going to get a good meal, especially the Roadhouse, good Southern meal. Black Pearl. Go to Black Pearl a lot. Go to Frida's a lot. I got Perrier Brown Jug.
For the special occasion.
Special occasion
For your significant other there. Where are you guys going?
Special occasion.
This also probably means an expensive place.
More to Birmingham, honestly, but in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In Ann Arbor, special occasion, maybe not with a significant other, but we go to Chop House. We go there a lot with the team, with the boys. We go to Chop House. I'm trying to think where else I eat a lot at. I mean, everything here is expensive now, honestly, so everything's special occasion at this point. But,
yeah, Dad, I was going to say Frida's and Black Pearl, those are pretty nice spots.
Oh, no, those are, you've listed some, frankly, you guys got a pretty decent hookup there at Shem. I mean, between the nutrition center and the cafeteria there is. So it's it's not bad.
Also, shout out our boys at Zingerman's. We're like 11 episodes in, and this is our first Zingerman shout out. It's crazy. Shout out our boys.
Yeah. What's you've been here a long time. What's your so far? What's your favorite memory while at U of M? Could be on the field, off the field. I mean, just what comes to mind in terms of as you look back. What's your favorite memory?
Favorite memory. Probably honestly after the O State games, just being on the field after the O State games is when everybody rushed the field. That night, being with the team, being with the guys, even being stuck in traffic with your fam, trying to get back to the crib.
Yeah.
There's no better time or place to be stuck in traffic. You're nowhere to go, just sitting there with your happy thoughts.
Or I don't know if you guys. After the game, just being at the cookouts, the family cookouts, the whole fam, just being able to lay back and chill, kind of rest for a couple of hours before the next week starts.
Well, we couldn't agree with you more that we were at the 2021 game and we rushed the field we were in row 80 and we made it down to the field. And we've talked about this before, but Q, it is, first of all, it's really hard going down 80 rows of icy wet metal benches because everyone's in the aisle, so we had to walk down the benches, and so you got to do that pretty carefully. And then it's like a 7+ foot drop if you hang on the railing and drop down to the field.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And then it's not easy to get out of the stadium because they closed all the stairwells out, so you had to scale back up there. So, but to your point, it didn't matter because it was such a good feeling having frankly having lost to them so many times. It was great. Okay, Stadium Jam. Right now, we've got 2 at Michigan. Mr. Brightside, we got Pump It Up. Which one's your favorite? And if neither are your favorite, what's your replacement?
Shout out Mr. Brightside just because it's a classic. It gets the guys going. It gets the crowd going. The pre-mix, I'm trying to think what game we had. We had a pre-mix. I don't know if I have a specific song. Okay. I would definitely want to see more hip-hop in there. Even if you want to take it to like Detroit, because we in Detroit, more Detroit hip-hop. But I mean, the music I want to listen to, I don't think everybody in the crowd want to listen to before a game. So
that's fair.
I'll keep it PG.
Yeah, well, there's the average age of a season ticket holder is probably it's a different genre of music. I think that's probably fair to say. So now, by the way, speaking of kind of entertainment, a separate thing, did you see that the Frisbee dog tore its ACL and won't be catching Frisbees during TV timeouts? You know, the guy that throws the Frisbee and the dog catches it after running 50 yards, jumps in the air. You guys watch that? Yeah, the dog. Yeah. Dog's out.
I remember one time I was like on the field and he threw the Frisbee right next to me. I spent so much time looking at the dog, I'd be losing track of the game sometimes.
Yeah, dog's gonna take a medical red shirt, I think, and be back hopefully next year.
To be honest, sometimes I felt bad for the dog. Like there's a lot of TV timeouts. I was feeling kind of bad for him.
That dog loved it.
That dog's having a blast.
Dogs love that stuff. All right. Final question. You're on America's Got Talent. What is your hidden talent? I mean, we know you can make big plays at big times. We know you're a very smart guy, academic, all Big Ten guy. What's the talent we don't know about?
Damn, I wish I had one. America. I wish I had a hit talent. It's funny thinking about that. My mind goes blank. I would say singing, but I'll be lying to you. I would say dancing, I'll definitely be lying to you. Maybe a magic trick. I don't know. Maybe persuasion.
Well, Q, I mean,
probably not.
we've said this. We referenced this in another podcast, but when you make it to the league, you're probably going to have to do some kind of talent thing in front of the veterans, right? Like Aiden did.
Yeah.
So you may need to. You've got a whole season to work on it. You may want to start working on that.
As a it's not a talent, but shout out, beard's looking great. As from a fellow beard guy,
Okay.
Looks great.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that moment a lot. Ever since I was a kid, that moment in the league where you got to sing or rap or do something. I got a couple songs I can rap.
Okay. Well, that's, I mean,
not get thrown off the stage. You got to fill the crowd out. You got to get something that plays on the heartstrings of the guys. I can rap a couple songs. Can I rap my own song? I can rap a couple songs.
Now I have another question, because you said you've been thinking about that moment for a long time. So, seriously, it must be this is a dream, a long dream that you've had since you started playing at age 4. When did you sign your first autograph?
When did I sign my first autograph? Probably signed it when I was probably 6 to myself.
That counts.
Bunch of scribbles. But real autograph, probably high school.
Interesting.
It's funny because I was always like, you don't want this autograph. you really don't want this autograph. But it was cool in the moment to sign.
That's awesome. Well, hey, we really appreciate this. It's great that you've been sharing your background and spending time with us. I know you're busy and getting ready for fall camp, and it's not often, and maybe never again, that we'll have the benefit of talking to someone with as much experience as you've had at U of M. You've experienced a ton of change, some lows that we talked about in terms of the seasons, but then the highest of highs as a national champion. And I know we're super glad that you returned to bring that kind of experience to the back end of the defense and frankly to probably the locker room beyond just defense. So we hope everyone will follow Leaders in Next and our partner, Michigan_football on Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And finally, visit our website, leadersinnext.com, for more information on how you can support Michigan athletics. Until next time, go Blue.